My name is Meeca, and I was born on December the 11th, 1986, at the Arima District Hospital. Neither of my parents had a formal, sound education. They both dropped out of primary school at a very young age. Growing up, I noticed the financial struggles that my parents had. We lived in a tiny little blue board house that was situated at the back of my grandparents' home in Malabar in Arima. We didn't have a flushing toilet until I was probably in Form 1. I was embarrassed to even have any friends over because mommy would be like, so where they would use the toilet? They can't use a proper toilet. There were times she would send us to the shop right out the road to trust basic items like flour, sugar, cooking oil. I went Malabar RC Primary School. I passed for El Dorado Secondary afterwards. That is where my struggles really became bigger to me. My dad was an avid weed smoker. There were times it would even affect his job because he started to become delinquent, and he would splurge his salary, and therefore we wouldn't even have like basic things that we need. So mommy would have to either borrow money to send us to school. So it was a real struggle for me. Mommy used to give me $11 in total to go to school every day. Sometimes I may have a $20, and that $20 I had to bring back the change so it could be used the next day. Otherwise, I just wouldn't go to school. And just to make it a little bit easier for her, I would drop off right at where the bus route ended on a mirror road and walk from there to home. It was probably a 20 to 30-minute walk. My father worked at a regional corporation, and my mom, she used to move from house to house, at least 3 houses, and clean houses, and started babysitting to make some extra cash. So that was an extra form of cash, but it wasn't nothing big to talk about. She made sure that we had lunch. Breakfast was like a luxury. We didn't have breakfast every single day. And my dad, he was verbally and physically abusive. So having to study and to focus on school during that time was really difficult. I literally had to put my mind to passing those CXC subjects. I eventually passed and got all my subjects. Seeing how my parents struggled, I wanted something better for myself and for my future. There was a day I was just watching television. It was probably around 4 or 5 in the evening, and we just heard these long, loud bangs on the door. It's like, who banging the door like that? So daddy opened the door. Some men came into the house. They started shouting. I just heard like shouting at my dad. Police officers. They was like, show me where the weed is. Show me where the weed is. So daddy led them into a room where they were allegedly found quite a large amount of marijuana, ammunition also, a rifle, and a hand grenade. And shortly after they went through the stuff and whatnot, they took us down to Malabar police station. Both my brother and myself were minors at the time, and some police officers were questioning us, especially my dad. They were questioning my dad. He told them that his wife and his children have nothing to do with it, right? None of us had a clue that my father had that type of stuff in the house. We know he smoked weed like all the time, but the ammunition and the hand grenade, none of us had a clue about that. The following day, at the Malabar police station, we still didn't know what was going on. We still had some glimmer of hope that at least my mom and my brothers and myself would be able to go home. But that didn't happen. They began interrogating us one by one, and I was just crying constantly because I wasn't able to comprehend what was going on clearly. After the interrogation and the statements that they took, they decided to charge all four of us with drug trafficking, having illegal ammunition without a license. They led me first to have my mugshots taken and fingerprint taken. My tears were just flowing like constantly. Here am I in this position. I've never been directly involved in anything illegal. I don't even litter. I was just devastated. So it was now Monday morning, and a police vehicle came to pick us up. So on transit to the court, the news came on, and it was us that came on the news that there was a family from Malabar Remo that were held with a certain amount of drugs and ammunition. When we appeared before the magistrates, they read out the charges that were laid against us. And at that point in time, we thought that we would have been able to get bail. The magistrates denied bail, and we all were sent to prison. My dad was sent to the Golden Grove prison. My mom and I went also to the Golden Grove prisons, the women's section, and my brother went to YTC. I stayed at the women's prison for a couple of days until the next court date's appearance. At the next court appearance, I was able to get bail. One of my uncles and aunt, they were able to get me out, which I'm so thankful for. My mother stayed a couple more days, and my brother stayed a couple more days. My dad wasn't able to come out of prison, and therefore to get someone to post bail for him, it was really, really difficult. So he had to stay in prison for a while until we were able to afford someone to post bail for him. Mommy was the only person with a salary at this point in time, and she was struggling with her 4 kids, paying bills and everything, and I still had to figure out what was the next best steps for me, and I had to carry on. I got word that John Donaldson Technical Institute had some free courses, and I immediately got the information and applied. I did pretty well in the civil engineering technician diploma. I got an average A overall. And during that time at John D and going to court in between, I was able to get a job as a civil engineering technician. There I worked and learned the construction trade pretty well. At that time there was the GATE program, and I applied to the University of the West Indies to do my bachelor's degree in civil engineering. I continued to work as a civil engineering technician and kept learning. But it was really a trying time in UE because the courses load was a lot. I was thankful that I had a job to assist with home expenses. I didn't have to depend on my mother for money for food, for books, for registration, because she was also struggling to pay lawyer fees every time we had to appear before court. I still had to persist through everything because I know where I wanted to go. My final year at UE, I remember I was at a friend's home. I was just enjoying some peanut punch, and I got a call. It was from my sister. She was like, "Mommy got in an accident." I was like, "An accident?" She was like, "Yeah." I say, "How bad it is?" She said it seemed like Mommy broke her leg. I was like, "Okay." Mommy was crossing the street from church into a car that was going to take her home. A guy broke the light, and she landed on the pavement. We proceeded to the Arima hospital. That was where the ambulance took her. I remember turning into the hospital car park, and there were a long line of church members just lined up. I was expecting my mom to come out of a wheelchair. So I asked my brothers and my sisters, say, so where's mommy? They were, mommy dead. I was like, mommy dead? I just lost it completely because I was now a motherless child. The period at which my mom died, which was on April the 17th, I was just 3 weeks away from writing my final exams at UE. Here am I now. With my sister, we were preparing funeral arrangements, so I just had a matter of weeks to prepare for exams. I remember there was one day in particular after the funeral, I was just in a complete emotional mess. I was constantly in tears and just totally in a mess. I was hanging up some clothes and I was like, Meeca, you came so far to get an education. You cannot give up now. Mommy is gone. But I have to complete this for her at least. At least. I had to survive. I had to move on. After 9 years and 10 months of going to court, the case was finally dismissed in January 2013. Thankfully, when my dad came out of prison, he never went back to the bad company. He stopped drugs. He pondered on the regret that he had of the turmoil he put his family through, and he never returned to that life again. Despite the many challenges that I faced, I was still able to graduate with my bachelor's degree in civil engineering and later on my master's in construction management with distinction from the University of the West Indies. After completing my degree, I worked in multiple positions such as project engineer, planning and schedule manager, and now I'm the site manager for the Trinity Village Center. As a young engineer, I kept learning and kept improving in skills and developing my own strategies, especially in the field of project management.
Project Engineering Limited is a project management company that I would have established in 2005, 15 years ago. We've been blessed with a lot of very large projects. One of our largest projects right now is the construction of a mall in Trinity. 2.5 years ago, one of our employees decided to change his career, and I started reaching out to a few colleagues to find a replacement. And one of my colleagues, architect, whose father was an architect, he's an architect, so it's been in the blood for a long time. He was very, very passionate about me interviewing Meeca. And one of the best judges of someone's character is if someone in the same industry recommends that person very highly. So I interviewed Meeca, and she had all the credentials, a bachelor's degree in civil engineering, a master's degree in construction management. So we hired Meeca, and we've never turned back. For the last 2.5 years, she's very reliable, very committed, very honest, very loyal. She's very hardworking, doesn't like to miss work. If she has to miss work, she feels like if she's done something wrong, even though it's a legitimate miss of work. Very capable on the computer. I did not know of her past until recently, and I don't see any baggage from that in how she operates at work. I wish we had more employees like Meeca, honestly, She's a pleasure to work with and be around.
Project management is something that I always loved. And today I could proudly say that I've accomplished every single thing that I set out to do. During those hardships, I would find myself painting, sketching. I just enjoy creating something out of nothing. Growing up in church with my mom, we were always involved in a lot of outreach programs, a lot of youth programs, just sharing hope with a lot of people. And that has always stuck with me even through the difficult process. I eventually started my own mentorship. It's called We Mentorship, and the purpose is to guide young ladies and even later down young men, to help them through figuring out the next steps of their life. I didn't have a mentor while going through my difficult times, and I know the benefits that they would have in having someone guide them through the various stages of life. And I'm so happy that I didn't give up in this entire process, because there were many moments I felt like giving up. I hope that my life would be one that continues to inspire others to live with integrity and to rise above their challenges.